Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I will go ahead and get started. We're so excited to have you here for our last demonstration of the year of the Geonexus integration platform titled Simplified Asset Creation, Integrating Data from ArcGIS to Oracle WACS with No Code. My name is Katie Majewski, and I'm a marketing coordinator here at Geonexus, and I'm happy to be joined by Josh Swenson, our VP of Revenue Operations, who I've brought in to help answer any of the questions you might be having up to the end of the demonstration. Today, we will be showing a recorded demonstration from Jules, one of our software implementation specialists, walking you through a demonstration of a no-code integration between Oracle WACS and Esri ArcGIS. In our demo workflow today, we will create a new wastewater system valve in GIS, execute GIP to establish a WACS location and asset, and then lastly, see the new wastewater system valve as it's reflected in WACS with its new location. Geonexus is a software company, and our product, the Geonexus Integration Platform, also known as GIP, redefines the custom code approach to integration by providing users with a fully supported, easy-to-use, proven platform for system integration. Our low-code, no-code methodology allows organizations across the globe to heavily reduce the amount of costs and maintenance associated with tightly coupled, code-heavy solutions of the past, while also allowing them the freedom to upgrade or adopt new systems along the way with no fears of software version lock or downtime. Our platform has three main components. The first is simplified configuration. So within the platform's easy to navigate user interface, you can quickly configure your integration between enterprise systems with little to no code required. This streamlines maintenance and management throughout the lifetime of the integration, while also allowing additions or modifications to be made on the fly with, again, little to no code required. The second is automated synchronization. So once the configuration is complete, we help you automate and schedule your synchronization on a specified task. If you have a system of record established already or would like to set one, we can also synchronize your data bidirectionally as well if you'd like. The last is active reporting, which we'll show within the demonstration today. So once you've configured your integration and you have your synchronization running on a schedule, we provide in-depth reports to show that everything has run as intended. How we simplify integration even further is through our library of connectors you can see on the screen below. Each one of these connectors understands the unique business logic of each system and are constantly upgraded to allow you to take advantage of the latest and greatest system features with, again, no fears of software version lock or downtime. So now that you've heard a little bit about Geonexus, we'll dive right into the demonstration.
Hi everyone, my name is Juliana and I'm a software implementation specialist here at Geonexus. Today I'll be giving you a demonstration of the Geonexus integration platform using Oracle Utilities Cloud Service Connector to connect to Oracle Utilities Work and Asset Cloud, or WACS. For the purpose of this demonstration, we'll be working with wastewater system valve data in ArcMap version 10.6. Our workflow will be to create our new wastewater system valve in GIS, execute GIP to create a WACS location and asset, and then see our new wastewater system valve as it's reflected in WACS with its location. Before creating our new wastewater system valve in ArcMap, I want to walk through our configuration in GIP and familiarize ourselves with the GUI. Right now, we are in the Geonexus integration platform user interface. The best thing about working with GIP moving forward is that there is no coding required and it's pretty easy to understand the configuration aspects. At the top of the interface, we can see my project. My project is called GIP Demo. You can have several projects in one instance of GIP. The first thing we're going to look at in our project is our connections. For this project, we're going to focus on these top two connections. So the first one I want to look at is our GIS connection. So here I'm connecting to GIS through a geodatabase connection. For this connection, all that's required to make the connection is the server, the instance, and the user and password that will have access to the data. However, GIP also supports three other types of GIS connection. So if we go to our connections here, we can find them here. So we support enterprise, geodatabase, online, and services. Next, we're going to look at our WACS connection. So similarly, we have two different ways that we can connect to Oracle utilities. So we have the OUAF connection and the OUCS connection. In this demo, we are using the OUCS connection to connect to WACS. So for this connection, we need our REST services base URL, our authentication type, our user, and our password. We also have the configure services, which will show us a bunch of different REST endpoints that we need to connect to as well. So here, this is where we configure and deploy our OUCS REST endpoints, and we can validate those right here. So as you can see, mine all validate successfully. Now that we understand our connections, we can look at the datasets. Datasets are how GIP organizes the information that we want to synchronize across the two systems. So you'll see I have two datasets. My first one is our system valve location. So this is where we're going to create the location for system valves in WACS, followed by our system valve dataset, which is going to create the asset. So let's take a look at our data sources in our location data set. So our first one is going to be the Esri geodatabase data source. So you'll see that our connection name is going back to this connection that we talked about earlier. And then we're defining the owner and table of where this is in GIS. Then we're defining our key field information here. So in this example, we're using global ID. We also have the option to set a where clause, which is going to filter down our extraction pool even more than what this does. So next is our WACS data source. And so again, we're referencing back to that connection name that we established up here, and then defining the entity, business object, and data type of the records we want to work with. And in this example, I set a filter to only extract the records that meet this criteria, as well as having a description in WACS that is equal to WW system valve. So then, similarly, in our system valve data set, we have two data sources, finding those fields that we're looking to work with. However, a little bit different here, we are using the key generation for asset. So when we create a new record, we're going to create what we're calling a WAM ID. And so we'll see this in the report. And so what we'll expect to see is a prefix of SVLV followed by the WAM ID field value found in GIS. And it'll be a total of 8 characters. This will be a unique identifier that is equivalent in both systems. So now that we've looked at our data sources a little bit more, let's look at our synchronization rules. So we're going to be focusing just on the create rules for each one. So here are the rules we have configured to create our location. So you'll notice I have a mix of field and default attribute types for my source. So here my source is going to be GIS going into WACS. So a default is just I can put any text in here. Of course, that's going to be allowed by the target attribute. Or I can select a field from GIS and it'll show me what's in our feature class that we have selected. And then on our WACS side, we have business object attributes, and identifiers. And so I can show you in the report the difference of those and where we are seeing those in WACS. Similarly, in our system valve data set, we have create rules that we'll be using. And we again have our fields and defaults and our business object attributes. And in this time we have data type fields, which again, I'll make sure to point these out once we have ran our synchronizer. So the process here is going to be to create our location followed by creating our new asset. So now that we kind of understand what our GIP configuration looks like, we can go into ArcMap. So we're just going to pretend that I'm a worker at a utility and I'm just installing this new wastewater system valve. So I'm going to start my editing session. And I'm just going to pick a random type of system valve and create that. And save my edits and stop editing. And then I'm going to reselect that to make sure that we have different fields populated so that we can see that translated over into WACS. Now that we've created our new system valve, we are done here and can save our edits, and we will close out our map. So now we're back in GIP and we're ready to run our synchronizer. So right now you'll notice that both of my data sets are in preview mode, which means they're not going to commit our changes. So I'm going to select both of our data sets and I'm going to disable the preview mode and then enable them. So you can tell that they were disabled because these folders were gray and now they are yellow. So that means they're ready to run. And we'll save. And to run a project in GIP, each project will have its own console window, and we will select this Start Synchronizer. While this is running, I would like to mention that we can also run GIP as a scheduled task through the Windows Task Scheduler. So this means you can set up GIP to run nightly or maybe once a week or whatever you want, but it'll run at a certain time. So you can set this up by using the GIP executable. You can see now when the synchronizer is running, it will tell you how long it takes to extract, the creates and updates it made. And this table here is updating our internal data store. And it looks like we're done. So we'll go to the reports and we can just click right here. And we can open our reports folder and we can open our report from this run. So on the first page, what we're going to see is just kind of a summary of what happened. So it extracted value list and ran our wastewater system valve location dataset and our wastewater system valve dataset. Next, we get this final status report that outlines in a little bit more detail what happened. So we'll go down and we'll first look at our generated key. So this goes back to the key generation we were talking about earlier. So it takes that prefix and adds that 4-digit value to the end. So this will be our key for system valve. And then for our creates, we see our location create. And so it's got all of our fields to create that location as well as our assets. And these blank ones mean it probably just didn't have those values filled in GIS. So then we had updates. So this was an update sent back to GIS. So this was going from WACS to GIS. So we're sending the WACS node ID to this WACS location field in GIS. All right, so now we've taken a look at that. We're going to go into our WACS environment. So once we're in WACS, I'm going to take this node ID and I'm going to put it in our location ID here. And then I'll search it and you'll see that it finds this one location. So when we open up this location, we will see our external ID. So you'll remember we set that up in our mappings here. So for our system valve location, we said we wanted to put the global ID in the external ID, which is reflected right here. So we can see that. We see our record information, our GIS ID again being that global ID, the location ID that he searched by, the description we defined, and then you'll see that we have that currently installed asset. So if you remember, we created the location and we wanted to put our asset under that location. So if we click here, it'll open up our asset. And again, we'll see that external ID, which this is from that key generation. So we've got this SVLV0109. And if we go in our generated keys, we have that SVLV0109. As well in our creates, we can see that we updated owner, diameter, subtype CD, facility ID, and some general ones up here as well. So if we go back, we'll see some of those things updated here. And as I was mentioning earlier, we had the difference in those BO attributes, which are here and up here, and then the data types, which are reflected in these asset attributes. And so you can see these were populated with those values sent in GIS, just like they were reflected in the report. So that's just a quick demo of how GIP can work with WACS to create both locations and assets in WACS. Please reach out if you have any other questions. Hi, everyone.
All right, now I will open up the floor for questions. While I give you guys to type in your questions, I'm gonna turn it over to Josh to manage those. Welcome, Josh.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Great to be here as always. Yeah, so as Katie stated, if you have some questions, there's a Q&A box. Usually to the right of your webinar interface. Please feel free to enter some questions there and we'll make sure to answer those. One that we had come in, Katie, that was looking at, some comparison between other options out there. As we're aware, there's some, native integration options, or what we typically call them, right? Integration options that come with the system. They're often included maybe for an additional charge, and with WACS, that is the case. And so a question about a comparison of GIP, the Geonexus integration platform, and our Oracle connector, to that native connector, and some of the differences there. So, yeah, I mean, just thinking through those, one of the things that GIP offers that I don't believe is available via the native WACS connector is bidirectional support. So I know there's support from WAM to WAM or WACS to GIS, but in the other direction, or both directions, that is something that GIP does alone. A couple more things. Branch versioning. So GIP does support branch versioning, which I think is limited with the native connector. And then GIP can connect to related tables. So a couple of differences there. If you reach out, if you're interested, we can kind of walk you through. And and I guess that's one thing to state here in terms of just this demo. The idea here with this demos to provide you with, a high-level overview. If interested in looking for something that's a little bit more tailored to a specific use case that you're thinking about, or your specific setup, feel free to reach out. We'd love to walk you through this, right? I mean, this is, this demo is really an option to, to provide you with, a peek behind the curtains of what GIP can do, and what the Oracle connector through GIP can do. But if you have some specific questions that are specific to your, your use case that you're thinking through, or your system, the way that it's set up, please feel free to reach out, and we'd welcome the opportunity. We'd welcome the opportunity to, to work with you on that. There's a question about the environment that was shown, the GIS environment that was shown in the demo, and is it available in for Pro as well? The answer to that is yes. Thank you, Dom, for the question there. So it is available for ArcGIS Pro as well, as I read the question there. Yeah, I mean, Geonexus is an Esri Silver partner in terms of our support, through our Esri connector. It's very, very broad. So, as Katie lined up in the initial kind of introduction to Geonexus, for those of you that aren't familiar, the Geonexus integration platform comes with a series, or a collection, a library of pre-built connectors, right? And so in this integration, not only are we talking about the Oracle connector, we're obviously talking about the Esri connector as well. And, given our strong partnership with Esri, and the fact that a lot of the integrations that run through our platform do include geospatial data, right? I mean, that's really Geonexus's sweet spot, is the ability to handle integrations that include that geospatial data. And for that reason, and a great question, Dom, we support just about every angle and flavor, if you will, of Esri, and what it has to offer. And so, one of the true benefits of Geonexus as a platform is its flexibility, right? It's not rigid in terms of what it supports. And so, kind of regardless of how your different systems are aligned to, to fit the needs of your industry, or your organization, we can support it through those connectors and the flexibilities within those individual connectors. So really good question, Dom. Thank you. There's one question just about, how this is installed in your environment. I'll go back to my use of the word flexible. Geonexus is a software product. It can be installed in an on-prem way if that's what you need. But if your systems, that doesn't dictate kind of where your systems are, if that's what the question that's being asked, right? So if you have systems that are in the cloud, if you have systems that are on-prem, we will install our software, within your environment, which I think is we found is really good for security concerns that organizations that we work with like that. But where your other systems are, we can connect to those, right? And there's a lot of flexibility there. So I think that reading into the question a little bit there, that's what we're looking for. But I'll leave the answer at that. And if there's something more specific that's needed there, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can kind of dive deeper. And that's true for other technical aspects of your specific system or ecosystem, right? With your specific systems that you're trying to connect. If you have questions about versions that we support or use cases that we support, feel free to reach out. We can usually easily share some documentation or some documents around what the technical specs that are needed per system are, and we can definitely share that. So if it's a question you have, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to answer that for you. So Katie, with that, I'll end and turn it back over to you. But as Katie said, thank you all for joining. We appreciate the opportunity to kind of give you the overview of the Geonexus platform here. So Katie, take it away.
Yeah, thanks for answering those questions for me. So just really quickly before we sign off, I just wanted to bring attention to some of the upcoming events that we're going to be having or attending in the new year. So we're going to be attending both the Distributech and Streamline conferences in late February. So if you're planning on attending the event and want to meet with us, let us know, or we can set up a time to have coffee or something additionally. So let us know and we can try to set something up further. So just to conclude, I wanted to thank you all for coming again. We started hosting these monthly demonstrations at the beginning of the year to help address some of your desires to see more of the platform. And really, because of all of your helpful feedback, topic recommendations, and really just time attending these events, we've really seen them to be a great hit, and we'll continue to do more of these in the new year. So we just wanted to say thank you for all of the help in making these such a great live event. That being said, if you haven't seen a connector or specific use case or topic you've been interested in seeing, please feel free to reach out in the chat or email me personally, or write a quick note in the survey after the end of the demo today, and we'll be sure to put it in the queue or follow up with you directly for more insight into what you're looking for. So here's our information if you have any additional questions. And if you're a customer, feel free to reach out to Lindsay directly. And again, there will be a survey after the demo, so if you prefer to write your questions or topic suggestions there, feel free to do it there. I hope everyone has a great remainder of your day, and we'll see you next year.